Hello, everyone. So I'm François Nimsgern. I'm the chairman of the French Libertarian Party, and I am also executive member of the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties. And it's an honor to be here today. I have to change my speech because I had the same subject as Andrew Withers, and he told you so brilliantly about a lot of things that I will not say in worse English the second time the same things. So sorry if from time to time I have to think and speak at the same time. It may happen. First, I want to confirm and to welcome officially your party in our alliance because it has been officially approved by both your party and the alliance. So welcome on board. We are happy to have you with us now. You're the 14th country to join and growing. We were 12 2 months ago in March, and we now are 14. Hope to be more, of course. And this make me think, first point is we see at the moment through whole Europe and even worldwide, because some of our members are outside of Europe, I think our friends in South Africa, a lot of libertarian-leaning parties. I know I've read, you say more classical liberals, but at the current state, it's more or less equivalent. We should probably not, and I'm going to disagree a little bit with my friend Andrew on this, focus too much on this point. We have, I said, a lot of new parties, more recent parties, created all over Europe, and this is a very interesting point. And perhaps I asked myself, why? What's happening now? Why now and not 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I think there are several reasons, and probably we could complete and have a long discussion now about this, but I would think about two reasons of particular interest. First interest is that after finally free market has won, nobody more or less is really believing communism is an alternative. And so classical political parties have started, those which were on free market side and those who were on more statist, planified economy sides, have started to converge together to a sort of soft statism. And is there really so big difference, especially would speak about France, which is a country I know the best, but I could also speak about Belgium, which is a country I know well because I live in, and I was, by the way, also founding member of the Belgian Libertarian Party. Can't get rid of me. And I know it's the same for Germany and perhaps also for Norway, probably because no reason. There are quite less and less differences between free market and former labor parties, everybody converging through something like a soft statism, soft social democracy, and nobody is standing for the principles of liberty. And this has now, how would I say, and I said I would have to rethink my speech, sorry, this has created such, I would say, an empty space. Nobody was for the last 10 or 15 years, no established political party was standing for liberty, was standing for economic liberty, for personal liberty, or perhaps when they did, it was just for a little part of them. But liberty is one. You don't have 25 liberties. You have one. You have liberty or you have statism. You cannot say, okay, I think state should not be concerned with what I do with my money, but state should be concerned to what my neighbor does in his bedroom. It's not logical. And the same way, you cannot say, okay, I want state to control my neighbor's bedroom, control my money, but not the reverse. This makes no sense. And as nobody was standing for liberty, a lot of people, and think here on the shirtless dancing guy, the first followers, decided we need to do something. This great, great idea of liberalism, which is major political and philosophical and juridical system, has to be represented by someone. And so let's do it. Let's enter into politics. This can be odd because normally we are not supposed to like politics. We don't want someone ruling our lives. We don't want someone else deciding for us. And okay, we are going to stand to public election to rule, to run other people's lives. Hey, that's strange. But we have also noted altogether one thing. We live in a real world. We do not live in a world of fantasy and of pure ideas. Politics is affecting our lives. And if we are not going, there will anyway be a guy elected. It's not we or nobody. It's anywhere someone. And in a politician mind, is vote obligatory? Do you have to vote in Norway, or you can just abstain? Okay, you can just abstain. If even just 5% of Norwegian population goes to vote for politicians, it's fine. They are still going to be elected. Even if you have 95% of population saying, hey, we don't want you. Anyway, someone is going to be elected. So someone has to stand in the political field of action and to stand for liberty ideas. It goes even further. If a political idea, and liberalism is obviously a political idea, is not represented by someone, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist for politicians. It doesn't exist for people making decisions. And it doesn't exist for average voter. Because French libertarians had in 2007 a very funny idea. As we didn't have a libertarian candidate for the presidential election, they decided to launch a campaign voting for Frédéric Bastiat. Perhaps know who Frédéric Bastiat is. French author, dead in 50, I think. So he was dead for 150 years. And great author, by the way, if you don't have ever read or heard of Bastiat, he has said some very, very fine things. And, okay, it was funny, but it was a pure insider libertarian joke. Because how do you want to go to someone? How can I go to a good friend of mine who thinks libertarian and say, hey, buddy, vote for Frédéric Bastiat? He would say, what? Your ideas are so great. You don't have a guy I can vote for? I have to vote for a long dead philosopher? Makes no sense. It was funny, but one time. And then we decided we have to do something. In France, it has not been so easy to start a libertarian party because of France has a long tradition of statism. We had, in 1960, probably no General de Gaulle. He was supposed to be a right-wing politician, and he had a minister of planification, exactly like in USSR. Same results. After they stopped. But in the 60s, we had this long tradition of over-generous welfare state funded by debt, which means actually funded by the future generations. And as long as people could say, okay, we'll pay later, or we will pay with inflation, so just some bad money, people didn't ask themselves what's going on. But the idea of welfare state is deeply, deeply in French culture. And I may think in Norway also, Scandinavian countries have the reputation to have very generous and very present welfare state. It was not easy because to create a party. And here I would perhaps disagree a little bit with Andrew when he says you have to define if you are an anarchist, a minarchist, a classical libertarian. In my opinion, it's not so important. Why? We live in the real world anyway. Even if you're an anarchist, and okay, I may be one. I'm probably one. I'm a hardcore Rothbardian. Even I know that I cannot go to a voter and ask him to vote for an anarchist position. One time I wrote an anarchist program. It is Article 1, all civil servants are fired. Article 2, the last one to quit is please to turn off the lights. And it was over. It's a little short to try to convince regular people who never have heard of idea of freedom. So basically we have to be on a minarchist, classical liberal agenda, which means minimal state. And minimal, the definition of minimal will vary from country to country. There is no absolute rule saying, hey, this is minimal, this is maximal, this is not acceptable. I think we have to think real. We have to think in concrete ways. and to make propositions which are not making people run away, because our propositions and our ideas are right. They are right because they can work, and they are right because they are morally better. But people are not used to receive these ideas, and people have to make, I would say, quite a thinking on minarchist classical liberal agenda, which means minimal state. And minimal, the definition of minimal will vary from country to country. There is no absolute rule saying, hey, this is minimal, this is maximal, this is not acceptable. I think we have to think real, we have to think in concrete ways, and to make propositions which are not making people run away, because our propositions and our ideas are right. They are right because they can work, and they are right because they are morally better. But people are not used to receive these ideas, and people have to make, I would say, quite a thinking revolution to accept that voluntary cooperation can work. That, okay, I will say voluntary interaction, freedom of anybody to run his life as he wants, but with responsibility, because it's so easy to rely on state on everything, you know. You are not responsible. It's not your fault. It's a state's fault. I have the bad habit of smoking. I know I ruin my lungs, but that's my lungs, and I'm not smoking in this room because there are people who may dislike it. So when I smoke in my private room, why do I need the state to write me as if I was illiterate? It's my choice. I'm not imposing it. But I accept responsibility for my actions. And, this for saying, okay, you can have in the same party anarchists, minarchists, and classical libertarians. It's not so a problem. The agenda, anyway, will be minarchist, classical liberal, perhaps first step, classical liberal, and for second mandate, when it's time, minarchist. And at the end, when the party has run the country for 25 years and has achieved minimal state, anarchists and minarchists can go to fight. But at the beginning, everyone is needed. Because we are not so much anyway. We are not so much, but we are many. When I discovered I was a libertarian back in the late 80s, a good part of this room wasn't even born. I was 18 myself, I was young, thin, and beautiful. I have been, I swear. I spent years before meeting another libertarian. Libertarianism wasn't mainstream. You never had any line in the newspaper and television. You couldn't see any libertarians. Even Frédéric Bastiat, I spoke about a few minutes ago, who is known worldwide in French schools, in French economic university. You don't have a single lesson about Frédéric Bastiat. So basically, for years, I was quite sure I was the only libertarian. After I knew a second, but because I convinced after years of persuasion, and so we were two libertarians. But we were in our corner, and perhaps next house there was another one, and 10 kilometers further another one, and now other reason why the party formation, the political action is going, is we have now marvelous tools. The internet is a marvelous tool. We can now, spread our message worldwide to everybody at a very low cost. Remember, 25 years ago, if you wanted to speak publicly, you could do like Englishmen do, go to Hyde Park on a little soapbox and speak. Okay, but the problem is you can do this only in Hyde Park. In Paris, Jardin des Tuileries, you cannot do this. Police come and put you in jail for disturbing public order disturbance. Don't know in Oslo if it's common to have people on soapboxes. Probably not. And to be able to deliver our message, we needed to have newspapers, television channel, radio stations, which was so costly that we didn't have. And now everybody with a computer, with the internet, with social media, can spread the message. And it's not a surprise for me to see that most of the people in this room are rather young people from the internet generation. It's quite logical, and which is also a proof that we are the future. When you go, I saw in France some weeks ago on television a meeting of the French Communist Party. Still exists, yeah, but not for so long. Average age 65. 65. People, okay, they voted communist for their whole life. Too late for change. But now we have young people more and more interested in libertarian action. And this is very positive and a very interesting point. I don't know if some of you probably were in Berlin last month for Students for Liberty. No? But there were people from Norway, so if they're not here, you should probably know them. Great meeting, 700 students, libertarian students from whole Europe. My God, 25 years ago, someone would have told me, wow, you are going to meet 700 libertarians one time. I wouldn't have believed it. But now it exists. But I would, after disagreeing with Andrew on some point, agree on a very important point, which is internet is great. I just said it. Internet is important. Internet is a great, great way to spread our message. But internet is not the only solution. It's very important when you have people wanting to join, wanting to come in, to be like, I would say family. It's perhaps a little too much, but not to just enter in some organization with chatting, but also to meet real people. And it's important to feel that what we are doing is right, is important. It's to have the ability to share, to meet people, and personal relations are really key in when we engage in political action like ours. Because, let's be clear, we don't have any short-term reward to offer to anyone. If you enter in French UMP, Nicolas Sarkozy, to make it short, probably know him, more or less conservative. When you enter at a young UMP, they have absolutely nobody entering. So when you enter, you can expect, if you are not too stupid, to get some public paid office quite quickly. In France, we are absolute champions of elections. We have 36,000 mayors, 900 members of parliaments, 6,000 members of local council, of district councils, and 3,000 members of regional councils, and just to name a few. And so actually there are a lot of positions, and it's very easy. You have, I would say, the promised gift for those who are entering into being good little soldiers of UMP. We don't have, as Libertarian, any perspective to offer a high-paid or even a low-paid. Everybody is not so after money. Any position or any prestigious position. We know that we are starting something, and being at the start, it means we know it's going to take some time to be a major political force. We are not building for one day. We are not trying to make just a blast. You know, if you look towards Europe, all the political forces who have established long-term with firm position have started from very low, perhaps 1-2 votes, very low. Sometimes you have political parties rising from nowhere, and they make one election and they come back. You had in Italy the 5-Star Movement with this comedian. They gained 150 members of parliament, and 2 years later, 2/3 have to quit, and the movement doesn't exist anymore. So we are building something for a long term, and this would be another advice I would give. Don't be afraid, discouraged, or don't attach any importance to electoral score. Elections are a way to spread our message. Elections are a good way to speak to people. You have a pyramid. You have general public. General public, most of them, let's be honest, don't know us. They don't know what we are standing for. They don't know our propositions. And election is an opportunity to speak to these people and to make our propositions, our idea known. Over, you have people who know us and okay, put aside so purely statists, so say, yeah, okay, it's interesting, but I'm still going to vote for another party because I don't want to vote for small party, or I always voted for conservative, etc., etc. And election is an opportunity to also speak to these people and to say to them, hey, look, we have propositions, we have ideas, we have things we can do, we have proposals which will improve your life if we have the opportunity to don't know us. They don't know what we are standing for. They don't know our propositions. And election is an opportunity to speak to these people and to make our propositions, our idea known. Over, you have people who know us and, okay, put aside so purely statists, so say, yeah, okay, it's interesting, but I'm still going to vote for another party because I don't want to vote for small party, or I always voted for conservative, etc., etc. And election is an opportunity to also speak to these people and to say to them, hey, look, we have propositions, we have ideas, we have things we can do, we have proposals which will improve your life if we have the opportunity to make them happen. This means we don't have, and we should never lie to get votes. It's not important to get votes. It's important never lie. It's important to stand and to stand on our principles. And after, we have the right to be smart. I mean, when you speak to a total conservative about, I don't know, war on drugs, you can tell him that, okay, prohibiting drugs is violating natural rights of the junkie. Probably he doesn't care, and he probably thinks the junkie does not even deserve to have natural rights. But if you explain that war on drugs doesn't work because prohibition never worked, and which problems incurred, number of tens of thousands of people killed in Mexico and Colombia by trafficking, then people can hear you. Being smart in explaining our ideas is not lying, just being smart, and we have the right to be smart. We are not obliged to be always on a principle level. We can use arguments saying, okay, it works, and when it works, it has to be said, and we should. And here also, I want to totally approve, Andrew. Really avoid to be lecturers, to have, the answer bias book. In France, we had, when we started the party, we had, it was, for a funny story, all started from a book, collective book. 100 people wrote, each of them an article, 2-page, on a libertarian topic. And after that, some of us spoke together and said, now we should really do something, and we did. And our first chairman was the editor of the book. We said, okay, you had this great project, it's due to you that we are existing, so it's normal that you be our chairman. Very nice. I really like him, and I'm not going to say anything negative on him. A really nice and clever, intelligent, and persuasive person. But one problem: a guy couldn't make a simple argumentation when discussing on a problem. Saying, you should have read this book. Hey, no. You cannot ask average voter to have read all Robert Hayek, Mises, Bastia, and who else. And finally, he stepped down from himself and said, no, I'm not made for this. I'm made for a think tank. And so after, okay, they had me, a mule, weak mind, but strong back. And from time to time in politics, mules are useful because we have a lot of brilliant academics as liberals, as libertarians, classical liberalism. 80% of economic Nobel Prizes are classical liberals anyway, because the only one you can give. And the two who are not, Stiglitz and Krugman, everybody knows them. It's strange, but it's very uncommon anyway. And we have a lot of brilliant academics, but our role as political party is to make it simple and to make it real, not standing at the level of just big, great ideas, but entering and say, okay, how would we do this? And as I said before, by taking into consideration that we live at the beginning of the 21st century in a statist world, no way, no use to start to explain that one day we could have private roads. Today, this question of private roads will be on the table. I think we will be, all of us, a lot older. What would this, and last point I would probably add important due to our French experience is, in France we had 2 or 3 attempts to form a Libertarian party. The first one, where people inside were quite good libertarians, honest libertarians, and good faith people, and they tried 2007 to enter into a presidential race. They didn't succeed because it's quite difficult for a small party to enter, and finally they decided to support another candidate, François, totally unknown, I suppose. Nobody's never heard about him, and it's deserved. Center-right candidate. This made, it wasn't even a political party, it was just an association. The association split because a lot of people did not agree to support a guy who is absolutely not a libertarian and not even a liberal. And second attempt, the same, more or less same people, but this time with a little more ambitious people as leaders, said, okay, we are going to make our party, we are going to, they form the party, they stand on a very firm principle, but made political alliance with center-right. And again, they are not, their idea was to say, we are going to try to go inside and to change things from inside. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. When you make 0.5% of votes in the election, you cannot enter into a party even if it's making 5 or 10% and expecting to change it from inside. It doesn't work. Sometimes people say, yeah, but look at Ron Paul in Republican Party. Okay. Ron Paul is an exception because United States electoral procedures are very specific. You have primary election for absolutely everything. You have primary elections which have binding force for the parties, even for a mayor of a 25 inhabitants village. If you have 2 candidates, of course. If you have just one, don't have the primary. So Ron Paul could retain his seat in Texas because he had a strong local support. And once he was elected by Texas Republicans as their candidate, and he was in a strong Republican constituency, he managed to retain his seat, and he could be elected and re-elected as a Republican, even if he disagreed on 80% of whatever all the Republican ever did. He could do this, and he was Ron Paul. Everybody is not Ron Paul. Everybody is not able to stand alone against everybody. And in political systems where the political parties decide who's going to be the candidates, which is the case in most of Europe, you don't have any chance if you enter into a movement and say, okay, I will try to have my personal political position and make statements which do not stand with the major party's agenda, it's over, clearly. So my advice would be yourself. Stand firm for your principles. Fight for it. It will take probably time, but we are right. And I hope that at the end of the story, in a few years, perhaps can tell to children, grandchildren, I don't hope, I was part of it when it started. I don't know if, as I had to totally change for not repeat what Andrew said, I don't have any idea if we have time or not. Okay, perhaps one question if someone, yes, please. The one allied with the center. Yeah, no, they have alliance with Centre Party. François Bayrou and now Borloo. So if you don't know, they have they made common candidacy with Centre Party, and problem is there are some very nice guys there. They are not our enemies, but point is that it's very difficult for them to have. Now they have a good program, but no way any of their candidates is able to defend it because they run under as technically it's UDE candidates. They're just member of UAD in big, PLD in small. So it's my opinion, the danger to seek alliance too early, or even to seek alliance with people who just, for me, is a burden of alliance. We could probably, as a French Libertarian movement, sorry for this Franco-French moment, like no, it's not known here, the book. Thank you for this moment. No, not known. Forget it. Sorry for the Franco-French moment, but we could probably work with people with PLD, and we do. Huh? We have some contacts. They're not enemies, but the point is that basically they're they are a member of something bigger, and so for me the burden of alliance is party we are supporting or working with, doing anything to limit personal liberty. And if yes, we cannot go with. If they have just okay, if they want to reduce, if we want to cut by 20 and they want to cut by 5, we can support a cut by 5. But if we want to cut by 20 and they want to increase by 1, we cannot support. It's just my personal rule. After it's not. Sir, yeah. this is one of the problems. And I totally understand your point. I could compare even more with Belgium, where it's even more true, where current leader of Belgian party was a former, 20 years ago, was a leader of the Young Conservatives. So he switched on the other way for. It happens from time to time. Of course, it's not easy for a small party to say, okay, we are going to try. We are going at same problem in the United States. Why going to Libertarians, which make 1%, and not trying to enter in Republican Party and to influence from inside? But of course, young Libertarians, especially young Libertarians, thinking of making a political career can be more attracted because, of course, there is, when you have a political party with dozens of seats in parliament, etc., there is the hope to get one day. And I think probably don't say anything. If they are going into politics to get a seat, let them go. It's not so bad. If they go for principle, let them go and ask them, okay, do you believe in what you are defending? Do you really believe in the agenda you are defending? Because, okay, young movements in quite every party are often more radical than the mother party. It's true, and the right side, left side, quite general rule, you know. And well, does people feel comfortable with what they are defending? If you are a libertarian, do you feel comfortable with the party saying, okay, we are going to increase government, to increase taxes, we are going to increase hygienistic laws, we are going to increase labor regulations, we are going, or whatever. If they feel comfortable and say, okay, yeah, I'm a libertarian, but I'm fine with that because I'm going to get elected. Probably not a libertarian anyway, so you can change people. One point I want to just to add, because it made me think on this. People, usually even people thinking, okay, yeah, but we should do this, we should do that, we should have more states. These people are probably not all evil. Most of them are not. But most of them have never thought about the alternative. And a way to bring them back, especially when you have people a little awake, as you say, to the ideas of liberty, and saying, yeah, okay, liberty would be fine, but well, it will not work, or but we need, etc. So say, okay, I understand your point of view. You want that result. And from that result, you think there's only one way to get. But okay, we agree with your result. We do not want poor people dying in the streets either. We don't want that. We are not, as Andrew said, we are not eating babies breakfast, or only with barbecue sauce, but this is a personal taste. Sorry. The, yeah, people just don't know that they never have think this way, and perhaps, and it's not to get an easy way for applause, but a way why we have so much academic and great thinker in libertarian movement is to be a libertarian. You have to be clever. You have to think, you have to love to think, and you have to have the ability to think, and to say, and you to go outside of, to think outside the box. I mean, everybody has not this ability, but it's not because they don't have this ability that they are evil. A good way to But I'm going very far from your initial question. I'm sorry. But a good way to have people understanding is to understand their goal, what they really want. Say, okay, you want that when someone is sick, he can be cured. He has access to medicine. Okay, we want that too. But we do not believe that national health system is the only way. There can be other ways which are more convenient, which are more efficient. And okay, after, if people just to summarize, if you have people to say, okay, no, what I want is just to get a seat and to be elected somewhere. These are probably very bad libertarians. So I think we need to. I was afraid to be too short, and it was very, very too long. I'm sorry, and thank you for your attention.